What's going on, guys? This is Gainz Gaming. Today we are going to be talking about migration and whether it is worth it to migrate back to a KVK2. And the reason why we are talking about this topic is because I personally am going to be migrating to a KVK2 kingdom. The kingdom will be Kingdom 2368, and so I will be migrating there shortly. And so today I wanted to talk about a couple tips and tricks that I have if you are considering migrating, and then we are also going to be talking about the pros and cons of migration from a Season of Conquest KVK to a KVK2. So first of all, before migrating, what you want to do is make sure you fill up your hospital with the high tier units. So for example, if you have T5 units, you want to fill up your hospital almost all the way full. You don't want to take deads. So as you can see, I have 373,616 units in my hospital. I have 375,000 available, and so you want to get as close as you can to filling the hospital without filling it. This is going to reduce your overall power, which is also going to reduce your passport cost. You also want to make sure you have enough passports available in order to migrate, and that's going to be dependent on your power. So as you can see, I have 64,997,000 power right now. That is because I was trying to get under 65 million in order to reduce my passport cost, and that is going to dramatically cheapen my migration cost, and we will get into that further into the video. Another thing we want to do is make sure we use up all of our resources that we have available. So as you can see, when you heal, I am using up a majority of my resources. I will still have a large quantity that I will need to get rid of. So I will be sending those to an ally that will still be here in the kingdom. And so that is one way you can get rid of those resources, or you can also use them on troop training. Personally, I will not be doing that. I would have used some extenders, some level 5 reserves to use up my resources and be able to speed those up in my next kingdom. But like I said, I did not want to increase my power a whole lot, and I do not want to collect these troops yet until I get to my new kingdom. Another thing you want to do is make sure you let your mines max out. So your stone, your food, your wood, and your gold. So you can see mine are maxed out, so they are not generating more resources right now. You want to make sure when you get to the new kingdom, you're going to have a little bit extra resources to be used. Once you get there, you are able to collect those resources and get a little bit of a boost going in, because you're going to have barely any resources when you get there. You're going to have to start farming right away, and so that's going to give you a little bit of a boost. One final thing you want to do before you migrate is, if there are any events going on, you want to make sure you complete those before you get to the new kingdom. So what you can do is you can go to the event calendar. So you can see we have Fill the Storehouse and Ian's Ballads are the two events that we have going on right now. Those end today at reset. So you want to make sure you have both of those done. So I had already completed my Ian's Ballads, so you can see I defeated all 3 bosses. When you migrate to new kingdom, you are able to redo those events. So you're able to get all the rewards a second time through. Once you complete the event a second time, you're going to get all these rewards again. And so that is a huge plus when it comes to migration. And same thing with Fill the Storehouse. I will be able to redo this event. Just need to gather 10 million resources, which I will have to do anyway when I get there, because I will have barely any stored up from when I migrate. That's going to give me an extra 4 of these commander sculpture chests, which get you Cleopatra, Seonduk, or Ashita. Legendary gathering commanders. So those are pretty helpful just to kind of invest into those commanders slowly. As you guys know, you can also get those commanders through gold keys, and you definitely should not be investing your gold heads into these commanders just because there's such little return on investment. So just plan on expertise in these commanders as you get them in the gold keys. As you can see, I have already expertise my Cleopatra, and that is from these commander chests and from gold keys. So I want to cover the pros and cons of migrating to a KVK2. There are plenty of each, so make sure you weigh these before you decide on migrating, because it is a hefty decision on your account. You are putting yourself back in the game, and so you want to make sure you have all the information before you make this decision, because it will impact pretty much everything on your account. So first of all, I want to cover a couple pros when it comes to migrating to a KVK2. And one of the pros is going to be migrating with a group of friends. Personally, I will be migrating with a group of players that I met here in 2046. And so I will be migrating back to a KVK2 with a large number of those players. Another pro is going to be facing easier opponents in KVK. That is going to be a huge pro for players such as myself, who have typically been on the lower end of strength when it comes to fighting. Especially as a free-to-play, low-spend player, you are not going to be the big dog in a KVK. Being able to place yourself a little bit above the average player in that kingdom is going to give you a little bit of an edge in the field when fighting in KVK, and potentially could get you into a rally lead or garrison lead, depending on where your gear is and where your commanders are. Another pro that some people will potentially see as a con is no crystal technology. And if you have not been in the Season of Conquest before, crystal technology is going to be in the Heroic Anthem and Strife of the Eight. And if you click on the rules here, you are able to see in special content, you have crystal mines. You upgrade those crystal mines in order to gain more crystals. You are able to research different crystal technology in order to increase your damage to barbarians, increase your damage to players, decrease the cost of healing. There's tons of different ways that you can give yourself an advantage in a Season of Conquest. But that research is not cheap. It does get very expensive, and it kind of makes Season of Conquest not so much a pay to win KVK, but a pay to survive. Because if you are not a max tech player in the field, you are going to get absolutely wrecked by someone who has maxed their crystal technology, just because they're going to be so much stronger than you are in the field, and you really stand almost no chance in the field in a KVK 4 just because of the disadvantage you have of crystal technology. Another pro is less commanders to focus on. So when you get to a KVK 2, you can only use commanders that are available in that KVK 2. So commanders such as Guan Yu are not going to be available. As you can see on the top of the screen, it says this commander can only be used in Season of Conquest kingdoms. So kingdoms that are past KVK 3 are the only kingdoms that you can use this commander in. And so if you have not unlocked this commander yet, and you only have, say, Charles Martel for your main infantry commander, you are at an advantage because you do not have those sculptures in Guan Yu, and you could potentially invest those into Charles Martel or Alexander the Great. I would not recommend investing your university commander sculptures in commanders such as Charles Martel, simply because of what I said earlier. You can get these commander sculptures from gold keys, and it is not going to be a worthwhile investment once you expertise Charles Martel, because then every commander sculpture you get from a gold key afterwards is going to be completely useless. And so if I show you my Cleopatra here that I have expertised, since I've expertised her, I picked up an extra 19 heads that I did not need, and so these are completely useless. I have no need for these. The only way I can trade these in is before a KVK, that I can trade in for a currency that can give me resources, speed ups, and legendary heads, which is also one of the best pre-KVK events in the game. I highly suggest you max out the shop when that comes around. I definitely will be. And so, like I said, you do not want to put universal sculptures into commanders that you get from gold keys. And lastly, another pro is going to be helping guide new players. As you guys know, the game will not continue if we can't get new players to enjoy the game and learn more about the game so they can enjoy it even more. So migrating back to a KVK2 is going to help you guide these new players that don't necessarily know what they're doing in the field, don't really know how to field fight or launch rallies or defend garrison, or really how to play the game most efficiently. And so being able to migrate back and kind of take these new players under your wing and guide them through the KVK is really going to help increase the enjoyment of the game and help the longevity of the game as well. Next, we're going to be going over the cons of migrating back to a KVK2. There are plenty of these as well, so make sure you weight these decisions very heavily. So one of the biggest cons of migrating back to a KVK2 is how expensive it is, especially for high power players. Like I said, for myself, when I was 70 million power, that would have cost me 40 passports, and that is before I filled my hospital and killed off troops. So I filled up 3.7 million power into my hospital, and I also had to kill off 1.6 million power worth of siege units Those are siege units that I could have been using to fill flags or fill garrisons or do something effective with rather than just killing them off and deleting them, because that provided me zero value whatsoever and is just a complete waste of resources of the time I spent training those troops, because I killed off about 400,000 siege units that, like I said, I could have put toward a flag in a KVK. And that is why migrating back can get so expensive, because you are literally deleting a ton of value that you will never get back, just because you have to decrease the cost in order to migrate. The other option is to buy more passports. There are a couple ways you can do that. You can do that first of all in the super value bundle. So if you are spending in the game, which I am not a financial advisor, but things you want to put money toward that is going to satisfy you more is a retirement plan, making sure you are safe and make sure you are set financially before you are spending in a mobile game. So make sure you are set that way before you invest your money into a mobile game. But if you are spending in Rise of Kingdoms, you can buy the New World bundle. And so for myself, if I were to purchase this, which even if you are spending in the game, this is probably one of the worst value bundles you can get, just because the other rewards you get in the bundle are pretty crappy compared to other bundles. So if you are only buying this for the passports, it's worth it. But if you are buying it for the other objects in the bundle, it is definitely not worth your money. But if you were to spend on passports here, in order to get the 35 passports that I needed in order to migrate, it would cost you $470. You would have to max out New World one time through, and then also spend an extra $85 on top of that in the next week in order to get another 5 passports. The way that I got my passports is through the Alliance shop. So how you get there is click on the Alliance tab in the bottom. You're going to click shop. As you can see here in the Alliance shop, you can have one of your R4s put passports into the Alliance shop. They're going to cost 600,000 credits per passport. And so I'm going to purchase all 5 of these here. That's going to cost me 3 million Alliance credits. So I'm going to purchase those. In some ways you can get some more Alliance credits. These used to be very hard to come across, but now they added the Alliance Reclaim shop, and so you can trade in blueprints that you don't need. So say you aren't going to forge this blueprint, you can sell this for 400 Alliance credits. So I can sell it there, and I just added 400 credits to my Alliance shop. And you can also scroll down to the bottom. You can now trade in Ethelflaed sculptures. And so that is going to be one of the easiest ways in order to get Alliance credits. So I'm going to sell my 11 here. It's going to give me 5,000 credits per head. So I'm going to sell those there. As you can see, just added some credits for me. And some ways you can get those heads are through Expedition. Every day you are able to purchase 3 Ethelflaed heads in the shop, in the metal store. And then as you get further into Expedition, when you beat these harder boss modes, such as level 70-2, level 70-1, you get the Treasure of the Warrior Queen. These grant you 1 to 5 Ethelflaed Commander Sculptures or Epic Commander Sculpture, Silver Key. So these can grant you 1 to 5 Ethelflaed Sculptures, a Legendary Commander Sculpture, an Epic Commander Sculpture, Silver Key, or a Golden Key. Typically what you're going to get are a couple Silver Keys and a couple Ethelflaed Sculptures. So as these add up, I get 12 every day from all these higher level bosses here. So you want to make sure you get through these as soon as you possibly can and 3-star them, just so you can get the value of getting those Ethelflaed sculptures every day in order to get more Alliance credits as you go. So as you can see here, if I go to my items, I now have 35 passport pages, and now I have enough passports to migrate, and now all I have to do is get rid of all my resources, heal up my hospital, and then I'm able to migrate. Another con I wanted to mention is the limited commanders and equipment. So like I said earlier, in KVK2 you will not be able to use commanders such as Guan Yu in the Season of Conquest, because he is a Season of Conquest commander only. So this is one commander that I have invested in. So I have a 5-2-4-5 Guan Yu. So this commander will not be usable for me when I migrate back to a KVK2. One commander I will be using in place of Guan Yu is going to be Alexander the Great, who I have expertised. And so he is going to be a good replacement for Guan Yu that I am able to use in the field and still trade pretty positively. Another commander that I have partially invested in is Ramses. I have him 5-1-1-1. He is another commander that I have been using in the open field in Season of Conquest that I will not be able to use. Similarly, another commander I did start to invest in was Herald, who I have 5-1-1-1, who, like I said, will not be usable for me in KVK2. The one upside of these commanders is that I do believe that they still will be usable when I revisit KVK4 after I finish KVK2, finish KVK3, and revisit KVK4. When I get back to the Season of Conquest, I still believe these commanders will be relevant, and so that is why I'm confident in migrating back to KVK2. These aren't commanders that I believe are going to be replaced or become irrelevant while I'm gone, and so that is why I'm confident in my investments that I've made thus far. Another con of migrating back to KVK2 is the equipment. So as you get to KVK4, you are able to purchase equipment that you are not able to get anywhere else besides the Season of Conquest shops. So whether the Heroic Anthem or the Strife of the Eight, you're able to click the shop, you can scroll down, and you're able to get blueprints such as the Ring of Doom, Horn of Fury, Dagger, Mora's Reb, all these amazing blueprints and pieces of equipment that you can forge that are going to be infinitely better than the blueprints that you get from events or from crystal keys. And so that is why these are not usable anymore in KVK2 and KVK3, just because people who have not visited Season of Conquest yet are going to be at such a disadvantage with these pieces of equipment in the game. And so that is why Lilith have revoked the use of these pieces of equipment in KVK2 and KVK3. And so if you do have any of this equipment, you will not be able to use this in KVK2. Personally, I do not have any Season of Conquest equipment just because I saved up my currency. So you can see I have 300,400 season coins. I am saving for a city skin. I haven't decided which one I want to get yet, but that is going to be something I will look into getting the next time I visit Season of Conquest. Another con of migrating to KVK2 is that you will not be able to migrate back to a KVK4 until you surpass KVK2, surpass KVK3, and get back into the Season of Conquest. So you are essentially stuck in that kingdom, in that KVK2 kingdom, until you surpass KVK2, surpass KVK3, and then reach Season of Conquest again. The only other way you can get out of that kingdom is by migrating to another KVK2 kingdom. So you want to make sure you pick your kingdom wisely, and make sure you pick a kingdom that has strong leadership, that does not have a civil war brewing, because if a civil war breaks out while you have just migrated there, you're stuck there for at least 30 days, and then your account is suddenly in danger, and you have to use a ton of peace shields and stress about your account being zeroed while you're there before you can migrate again, because you are not able to migrate for another 30 days after you migrate to a kingdom. One final con that I believe is probably one of the biggest cons of migrating back to a KVK2 is the inability to get new commanders and spin the Wheel of Fortune of the Season of Conquest commanders. So for example, when I go to the Wheel of Fortune, right now we have new commander Honda, who I just unlocked. If you haven't checked out the video, I'll post a card up on the top so you can check that out. Also, CJ, Harold, Guan Yu, and Alexander the Great. When you migrate back to a KVK2, you do not have the ability to spin these Season of Conquest commanders, and I will be stuck only spinning commanders such as Alexander the Great, so these KVK2 commanders only. And like I said earlier, I already have Alexander the Great expertised, so any sculpture I get of him will be completely useless to me. And so these KVK4 commanders that are only available in the Season of Conquest, you are going to lose progress on them as your account gets older, and all the players who are still in the Season of Conquest are still spinning these commanders. They are furthering their account in these Season of Conquest commanders, whereas you are only able to invest in the KVK2 commanders or save up your sculptures until you get back into the Season of Conquest. So that is one of the biggest downsides of migrating back to KVK2, is that you lose a ton of progress on the Season of Conquest commanders. Plus, if a new commander comes in the game, you will not have the ability to unlock that commander, such as I just did yesterday. I was able to unlock Honda, If I had migrated yesterday, I would not have been able to unlock Honda, and if he becomes a new meta rally or meta garrison or whatever role he plays in the game, I will not be able to unlock that commander, and I will have to wait until his cycle of wheels when I get back to the Season of Conquest. That's one of the biggest downsides of migrating back to a KVK2, is losing the wheel, losing the Mightiest Governor. So for example, if Constantine is going to be the available commander for me in the Mightiest Governor, whereas here in the Season of Conquest, I'm able to get Leonidas, Zenobia, Pakal, and the new commander, Suleiman. So this is another reason why migrating back is so dangerous for your account as well. Sure, you fight easier opponents, you have an advantage with troop count, you have more T5 units if you're a T5 player, but the one biggest disadvantage is that once you get back to the Season of Conquest, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage in the future for the reward of a short-term gain. And so personally, I believe that I will have enough commander sculptures in order to expertise a commander right away in the Season of Conquest if I need to. Currently, I have 471 legendary commander sculptures, so by the time I get back to the Season of Conquest, I will have at least 680 in order to expertise a commander of my choosing. But that is one reason why you want to be very careful with migrating back to KVK2, is because you will lose out on the progress of these Season of Conquest commanders. If you guys enjoyed the video today, please drop a like and subscribe. If you guys have any ideas of future content you want to see, please drop them in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video.